Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Links with Friends. Today is June 28th, and we're doing robots and nonsense for your Friday before 4th of July.
Well, I know everybody's hyped for it, but I think they've announced the date. It's going to be in July. The $5 McDonald's value box. Are you hyped?
You know, now that you mention it, I'll probably be like, oh, I should get McDonald's later.
It does seem like a good deal. It's a limited time, but one thing about it, when you're driving through to get that, you will not be getting one feature that you might have been getting up until now.
McDonald's is ending its drive-thru AI test. Almost like they really took to heart whatever that report was from last week about...
Oh, Warren Buffett?
Yeah, or whoever it was. I don't even remember. They were like, wow, we're spending a lot of money on this, and it's not great.
They also pointed out some really crazy hallucinations that were happening in real time. Like somebody would get just a drink and the AI would add condiments.
Or it would just tell you the ice cream machine was working.
I've seen homeless people do that, where they're like, give me a water and some ketchup packets. And it's like, wow, okay.
That was depression soup.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Ketchup soup.
Although back in those days, ketchup probably was much healthier for you, right?
It's also wild because future historians will refer to that $5 box as when the line went way, way up on cancers. So it turns out that level of processed food really set off the rate of cancer in the population.
A lot of people eat that every day.
Yeah.
It's astonishing. Maybe you just build up a resistance, like with pain pills. But one place that we are not getting very much resistance built up is the AIs. They continue to be wrong in hilarious ways, and some of them, more than others, seem to be maybe fudging a little bit.
The Wired headline is Perplexity is a BS machine. The Wired investigation shows that the AI-powered search startup Forbes has accused of stealing its content is surreptitiously scraping and making things up out of thin air. It's also confusing because perplexity is actually a technical word to refer to stuff that happens when you're training an AI, and it's getting confused because you're taking the fidelity out of the resolution of the stuff that you're training it in. And this is also the name of the company. And man, AI, it has all the hallmarks of crypto scams, all the way up and down and sideways, but it is actually kind of useful.
Well, some of them are. I don't know about this one. So Wired, obviously, he decided to do a little testing with Wired.com articles that he wrote. And in very many cases, it got the facts wrong. It never attributed anything to him. And there was just a lot of weird stuff. Perplexity has been advertised back in the day as being like, oh, these other ones are static, although OpenAI can now search the web. But Perplexity can go out and find things on the web, and then he would test it with things that were first Google result, and Perplexity would still get it wrong. So it didn't seem like it was actually doing that. And OpenAI, as we know, is shedding people constantly because they all seem to be seeing something that terrifies them in there, and they run away. Although maybe it wasn't that. Maybe this guy just got a better offer.
OpenAI's former chief scientist is launching a new AI startup focused on safe superintelligence.
Were there any details about how they were going to keep it safe in this? Like even a little?
No, you don't need the details. Like you just look at OpenAI, not open, commercial, thinking about going commercial. There is a nonprofit aspect, whatever. Safe superintelligence, unsafe superintelligence.
One of the things he pointed out, and I don't know if this is good or bad, but he pointed out like we're going to have a small core team of smart people, and we're not going to do like the bureaucratic board or anything like that. But then that could also lead to a megalomania type of situation.
Also, not sure. There are a lot of prominent. Some of the early adopters of LLMs are saying, hey, LLMs are not enough to lead to AGI. We're missing a couple other pieces. And they're now explicitly working on whatever those other pieces are. And I didn't get a feel from Safe Superintelligence if they were working on LLMs 3.0 or if they were working on those missing pieces to actually make it general intelligence.
And you mentioned the OpenAI being non-profit, for-profit. It seems like the non-profit phase was the caterpillar. Now we're in the chrysalis phase, and we're moving to this.
The Reuters headline is OpenAI CEO says the company could become a for-profit corporation because maybe that's what makes sense for us, because we are spending a lot of Microsoft's money really quickly.
And we are leaving a lot of profit on the table.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is. Of course, is anyone surprised by that? Come on.
And we also probably are going to be getting some Apple money at some point. We'd like to keep that. And here's an interesting one. And I guess the Turing test supposed to be the average person asking the questions?
Yeah.
Or a trained person?
It's like an average person. You're interacting with it. You're interacting with people and computers. You got to pick which one's the computer and which one's the person.
It's interesting that AI has become so good, you could reverse Turing it, right?
Yeah.
Because AI can do something that a human can't. And if I ask it to do that, and if I ask it for code and it gives it to me in 10 seconds, I'm pretty confident that's not a human.
GPT-4 has passed the Turing test, researchers claim, because humans couldn't tell the difference between ChatGPT and a human.
500 normies, apparently. 50-some% of them, wasn't it?
I will say, like, sometimes my neighbors, I'm friends with them on Facebook, and they just post, like, just clearly AI-generated stuff all the time. Like, there was one, it was just an AI picture of a boat covered in money, and it was like, repost for more money. And I was like, dude.
You posted that link earlier today, and I never look at Facebook. And I was looking through those comments, and I was like, my God.
Do you see why I'm so intrigued now? Because
No.
like, I love it. It's so...
No, it's like...
The little local Facebook groups, like, that is just endlessly entertaining to me.
It's like bobbing for apples, but instead of water, it's vomit.
Oh, I love it. Get it all over me. I wanna read all those deranged comments.
Well, this is what I was talking about at the end of the last episode. Christy, you might like to have more insanity in your feed, right?
This is, yeah.
Like not just the human hallucinations, but more bots.
Former Snap engineer launches Butterflies, a social network where AIs and humans coexist.
Why would anyone want this?
Every social media is this now.
Yeah.
Engagement farming. This is all about engagement farming.
Yeah, I guess if you're an advertiser, you want this, so you can have a perfect influencer who you don't have to worry about going off the rails, but...
So they pointed out that some people is like, oh, I've created my Dungeons and Dragons character as an AI, and I just turned it out there and I let it do stuff. Who cares?
Yeah. And is that any fun at that point? I mean, it's playing the game, quote, without you.
I built a diesel engine, and I have it running on this 55-gallon tank all day, just making fumes. Isn't it cool? And it's like, it's cool that you built a diesel engine, but...
But I can talk to it. And here's one that, who do we believe these headlines? Do we not? I don't know. Maybe we need some sort of, go back to Robot Wars. What was the name of that TV show?
I downloaded and ran this model. It's not bad.
But we
I know
need
you're
some
talking
sort
about.
of
Battle
public
bots.
forum. They need to combat one another.
China's DeepSeek Coder becomes the first open source coding model to beat GPT-4 Turbo in some limited coding tasks.
And it is focused on coding, which honestly I would prefer.
Summer sale.
And this one's turned out to be such a nothing burger.
It really...
It
the
was-
last sentence was really like, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
Meta created a way to watermark AI-generated speech, but everybody has to opt into it, and no one will.
And it's easy to defeat if you want to.
Yeah,
So in other words, they did nothing.
literally nothing.
You know how the emergency alert has that tone at the beginning? This is that, but for AI-generated speech.
Well, it's maybe a testament to how the mistakes we've made as humanity, that one of the most fertile, beautiful spots of farmland on the planet is now infested with landmines. So what are we going to do about it?
Ukraine is using AI to manage the removal of Russian landmines. Basically, a bunch of robots that are going to go demining, looking for things that look like mines, which is great.
But also at a top level, the AI is going to try to figure out the best place to send the landmine teams to get the most mines, I guess.
It's
That's
going to
a-
consider safety, right?
That's got to be a stressful job. Right?
Yeah.
And once again, we see that AI is generating internet content. It's doing it poorly. People are trying to deal with it, but they're doing that poorly as well. And we end up with just nonsense.
404 Media. I think the people on their team after our own hearts. The headline is AI images and Google search results have opened a portal to hell.
How bad is it? Well, if you look at this image, the blurring will give you some idea of how bad it is because they can't show you any of it.
So I want you to say that this is as bad as it is for this kind of search also. Like just literally anything. I want to find a text article about blah. It is all AI generated nonsense.
But this is a little worse than nonsense because apparently what gets the clicks is you take a celebrity, you deep fake them as children, and make them scantily clad.
Just get rid of the whole planet, start over.
How is that the most clickbaity thing that it can find? What does that say about us?
It's probably double lucrative because you get the weirdos, but you also get the people who are angry at the weirdos, right? It's that engagement farming thing Wendell's talked about.
The whole divide them and pit them against one another?
Yeah.
That's super effective, isn't it? Now, the last AI person was in the UK. Is that right?
Yeah.
Now we got one in the good old USA.
Authorities investigating AI running for mayor in Wyoming. Wyoming law will decide the matter.
I think this is not real. I saw a follow-up article about this, but I didn't get a chance to read all of it.
What's not real about it?
It's a PR stunt, basically.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they both are.
Yeah.
But I think he is actually like registering and all that nonsense, right?
It's an individual, but he's just like, yeah, we'll use this as a tool. It's the most fair thing. It's like, well, maybe your heart's in the right place. Maybe.
No.
Politician, never.
And we're getting into campaign season. We're already seeing deep fakes being accused when it's not really deep fakes. We're seeing actual deep fakes. And then we're seeing this kind of madness, which is just like, what are you thinking?
The Michigan GOP candidate apologizes for disrespectful AI-generated Martin Luther King Jr. endorsement video. Yeah, I just...
It's not even subtle.
And so it starts out, I have another dream. And the dream is this guy getting elected. I mean, that's how bad this is. And this guy's like, I didn't approve that. It's not me.
Yeah, it was a friend of his or
not
something.
Not really or whatever. Yeah, that's what he claims. But it was on his Twitter.
It's so weird.
It posted on his Twitter.
Also, he said later on, he was like, listen, I didn't approve the video, but I think Martin Luther King Jr. would totally vote for me. And I'm like, what a weird thing to say about a historical figure who's passed away. How could you possibly know?
We've used science to bring the corpse back alive to ask them. It's like, oh.
That is just, that's a level of stupidity that I would think isn't even in government, but yeah, it is. And people want to use AI, and it seems like when you get busted for using AI, one of the things that you can do to sort of control that PR is like, no, I was just showing you how bad it could be. This is actually a protest.
The Guardian's headline is London premiere of a movie with an AI-generated script canceled after Backlash.
One of his quotes was literally, "No, I'm one of you. Please don't hate me. I'm a real boy." But this is, well, it's real, but it's not a human. But it can kill you just as easily as one.
Ukrainian robot tank gets Starlink superpower to battle Russia. I'm pretty sure that I saw this at the beginning of the Terminator movie.
So this guy is, he's going to be able to go anywhere, be controlled from any distance.
He's soon going to be rolling over human skulls, just like in the movie.
Maybe that's what the container was.
A bunch of these. And that is not the only robot that will be on the future battlefields. It seems like the future battlefield will be basically nothing but robots, at least on one side.
Cheap and lethal, the Pentagon's plan for the next drone war. Man, imagine how insane it's going to be if the drones are all made out of, like, you pour in some alcohol, you set the alcohol on fire, this thing's good to go for 8 hours, and it'll just fly wherever it needs to. It doesn't even have any moving parts.
The ultimate evolution of that will be, instead of alcohol, human blood. And then it can just recharge. Now, the idea here, which is interesting, because how long ago were we promised that, yeah, we're going to have drone swarms, but there's always going to be a human controlling that? That was less than a year, right?
Yeah. I mean, the time compression kind of messes up, but...
Well, it's been recently. Now they're saying, oh, Russia is so good at jamming signals that it has to be fully autonomous. So, like, our signal's going to get canceled, so we need to train these to kill on their own. That's the only way we're going to be able to do it.
Your mission is to make it to these coordinates and then explode. Can do, sir!
Should I do any other checks? Nope.
And if you work for the Canadian government, you have a new friend in quotes, because this is probably not actually your friend.
Public servants are uneasy as government spy robot prowls federal offices. Supposedly these things just count occupancy and then dispose of the picture, but we'll see.
Well, it's supposed to also control like the temperature and the heating and everything.
Depending on how many people are in the office, but
it's definitely keeping the data, right?
yeah.
Is there any,
They said it's disposed of.
out of all of the infinite universes, how many is this robot not actually collecting all that data?
They probably want to use it so they can eventually get rid of a bunch of employees, right? It's like, oh, we see you haven't been in the office for X amount of days.
Well, a lot of people pointed out, it's like, well, yeah, you say it's just monitoring, but he comes into the conference rooms while we're meeting. And you have records of who was at that conference. So you know our attendance, and now the robot knows what bodies were in the room.
The only solution is to wear elaborate costumes to work every day so it can't recognize you.
Or just throw a blanket over the robot every chance you get.
Oh.
And then hit it with shovels. Over in China, they are embracing the AI future, whether they like it or not. And I guess one little side effect from that is that certain industries get improved.
China's next gen word I probably can't say, powered by AI, are about to hit the shelves. It's robot companions.
She can talk to you now.
Oh.
Can you imagine it's like pillow talk and she's like, oh, that was so good. Do you want a Marlboro cigarette as much as I do? One thing, unfortunately, they cannot do because these gals are kind of heavy. They can weigh up to like 80, 90 pounds. So they can't put motors in to make her move on her own yet. Because that might fall on you and kill you.
Things are not going well for the person that married the Hatsune Miku AI. The software is no longer supported, and
She's literally on life support.
Some sensor broke. I don't know.
Well, he's going to have to upgrade to the next model. Things are also not going well here, which is considerably more alarming.
2 astronauts wait to come home as Boeing races to understand spacecraft issues. Here's what's at stake.
Did you feel like NASA was a little dismissive in this statement when you read it?
Yeah, well,
Not dismissive, but kind of like, oh, it's probably fine, but maybe not.
They've already said, it's like, listen, we can ask Elmo to go get him, so it's fine.
That would be embarrassing.
It was very slightly embarrassing. Yeah.
I sensed a little undercurrent of like, we don't know what happened exactly, and that's making us very nervous. Someone's working a long weekend.
Probably by the time you watch this, it's been resolved. Engagement challenge
hopefully.
below with what happened.
But if I'm up there, I'm thinking to myself, every moment that I'm sitting here eating my paste, isn't more helium leaking?
As your voice gets higher and higher and higher. Houston.
But space has to be our future, right? We have to leave the planet. We have to colonize the galaxy. But it might have some more difficulties than we've imagined thus far.
Human missions to Mars in doubt after astronaut kidney shrinkage revealed.
He was in the pool.
More time you spend in space, the more time your kidneys shrink, and maybe irreversibly. We don't know.
Ugh.
Which means that you're going to get the stones. And let me tell you, no doctor within hundreds of thousands of kilometers, and you got the stone.
And you've been eating Space Bucky's nuts for...
Yeah, you're eating dehydrated foods. There's not enough water.
Oh.
That's a problem.
They do not think that they can fix that with shielding on the space shuttle. They're going to try to do it with drugs, which also seems very dangerous.
We're going to have to build the spinny thing with artificial gravity and just hope for the best.
I think that's kind of what we did already, right?
Yeah.
And it turned out hoping didn't save the kidneys.
Yeah.
Maybe the solution is being born here as we are witnessing for the first time a beautiful little baby.
Astronomers detect a sudden awakening of a black hole 1 million times the mass of the sun.
Just hear a scream in the distance.
Yeah, somebody prepared a diagram that showed our entire solar system as just a speck inside this black hole. So, yeah, that's alarming.
Pretty confident that's a black hole waking up. Obviously, you can't look at black holes. Could also, a small chance it could be a black hole devouring a star.
Ooh.
Could
Either are intriguing.
An even smaller chance, it could be some sort of alien type 2 civilization's weapon of mass destruction.
Way more intriguing.
That's on its way.
Yeah.
But here's some
Aliens
good news.
2024.
Some of the best space news we've had all year.
Voyager 1 has made a stellar comeback to science operations. We reported that Voyager 1 was having some problems. they're able to get the 3 broken computers on Voyager 1 to work together to kind of still work.
They managed to nail down to one chip, and then they were managed to work completely around it, and they're getting the full suite of data. I've had some satisfying troubleshoots before.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the level of
Oh, my
satisfaction
gosh.
from that?
The amount of high fives going around that office.
And we have weekly microplastic updates now. We seem to be studying one particular part of the human body here.
Microplastics discovered somewhere they definitely do not belong for the first time. Thanks, CNN Health.
Apparently because it is very vascular and has like chambers that expand and contract.
I'm not life, but better at the headline at the top there. More microplastics.
This is not great.
So yeah. I don't know how you can't stop it. I mean, you can try to not have plastic, but it turns out a lot of stuff is processed in plastics before it ever gets to you. So
It's impossible
enjoy
to
your
avoid.
glass bottle. It's still got plastic in it. Now, if you want to run a data center, but you feel like all modern data centers are just too ugly, you want something nice, maybe you want to live in your data center, here's a really unique opportunity.
$2.4 million for this Texas home boasting a built-in 5,786 square foot data center with full liquid cooling immersion systems, but no bedrooms.
How tempted are you?
This actually wouldn't be a terrible deal. Like if you had a customer that had 5 or 6 racks of like the Blackwell racks, you know, those are like what, $4 or $5 million each. This would be a great place to put them.
Honestly, with the drone of the cooling system and the servers and the low temperature, I think I could sleep really well in a data center.
This is a perfectly reasonable price for this.
The downside is that it's in Texas, where the grid can be a little.
Yeah, that is unfortunate.
You're going to need a generator for sure. This was I don't know what kind of website this is.
No, I went to where the story was originally posted, and it was also like very weird.
But
What a strange headline.
this might be AI hallucination. I don't know, but it's a fun headline.
The 98.7 The Coast headline is awful news. High school cancels basketball game that was going to be played by women in thongs. And it's like,
It was a fundraiser of some sort, but it was very hard to find a lot of info about it.
I can see why this is wrong, but then also I think back to my high school, and it was like we had cheerleader car washes kind of a lot. And thinking back, some of the teachers were more into helping set those up than probably they should have been.
Ugh.
This was billed as the Nuttin' But AZZ basketball game. So they really weren't hiding
Subtle.
it at all. Yeah, they were putting it on the tin, what you were going to get. Somebody thought better of that. And we have seen this guy a couple of times already, and it keeps moving around, bringing his magic to new areas.
Mysterious metal monolith shows up in Las Vegas after reappearing in Wales. So there is some sort of global movement to deploy these mirror finish metal monoliths.
You think they're all different, or is it the same one?
I don't know. It's a mystery.
New idea for the container.
How wild would it be if it's just, if it is some sort of extraterrestrial intelligence that's like, we've tried, like we put all the,
Guys, you haven't been answering our texts. Just come and touch the monolith.
You'll be stricken with visions.
And here's your weekly reminder that we are being run by children. The people in charge are petulant and stupid.
Vermont lawmaker publicly apologizes after being caught on video repeatedly pouring water into colleague's bag.
She would get him every day.
That's such a childish thing, but it's funny.
He couldn't figure it out.
What's happening in Vermont?
She apologized, but I don't know. I mean, you should be thrown out for that, right?
Yeah.
I guess there's no rules against that. But shouldn't they? 'Cause
You would think that's just common sense, like don't pour water in your colleague's bag, but
what's it like if you work, if you have a contract with Nike for advertising, they have that clause. It's some kind of clause that says you have
Morality
to-
clause?
Yeah, morality
Yeah.
clause. Shouldn't that be a morality clause?
You would think.
With our leaders. I guess the problem would be we'd have to get rid of all of them, right? And in Louisiana, they are wasting time on this. I mean, to be fair, there's some solid recommendations in there. But I don't know if
one of
we
the top 10 of all time.
Yeah, but I don't know if we need it on every wall.
No.
Louisiana classrooms are now required by law to display the 10 Commandments.
It's favoritism. They can't do that.
What about the Flying Spaghetti Monster also has some pretty solid advice. Why?
Yeah, you got to do all or none. So
And there's no room for all of them.
Yeah.
So you got to do that.
I need a poster describing adverbs and like, you know, all the other stuff that
Oh,
you do.
educational material.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
useful.
I need some commandmently advice on crypto investments and that sort of thing. Like what?
A Kendrick Lamar video.
It's actually just all ads for credit cards. That's what we need room for.
Join House Visa and be protected. Well, okay.
Now, you know, I make a lot of comments about the shoplifting epidemic and inflation, and we always get commenters who are like, that's not real. Hey, things are actually pretty good. Well, I don't know.
The Associated Press headline is Secret Service agent robbed at gunpoint during Biden's Los Angeles trip, police say.
He was packing, but I guess they got the drop on him in the car. He did manage to shoot at them, but wasn't able to hit them.
There's a joke about cops not being able to hit stuff right now, but I wouldn't think it would apply to Secret Service.
Hopefully they have a little more training. And we know that Taylor Swift's jet is now protected and barely on time. This could have been a disaster. But luckily, she and other billionaires were able to change the laws to fit their lifestyle.
Just Stop Oil targets Taylor Swift's jet and fails to locate it because they're now more protected than your VHS rental records.
And of course, their solution was to randomly attack somebody else's jets and paint them orange. Really accomplished a lot there. They also painted Stonehenge. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Stop oil.
Those were made before oil was even really a thing.
Don't question it.
I mean, stopping oil would also stop microplastics, but
It would also stop humanity.
things like advanced surgery would be a lot harder without plastic.
Yeah, I think there's probably a happy middle ground of like less plastic, but still use it for like medical things.
I think if we stopped oil, we would stop about 90% of humanity. And guess what? You're not in the 10%. I mean, maybe some of you are watching this. If so, have you looked at Patreon?
And or floatplane.
And in China, things are escalating. It's not just Taiwan. China seems to have bad relations with a lot of its neighbors down there in the South China Sea, Philippines being the latest one.
Only pirates do this, say the Philippines, accusing China of using bladed weapons in a major South China Sea escalation. They actually injured some people, and Philippines wants payback.
So they destroyed the transponders. They smashed up the screens and stuff. One dude lost a thumb.
Oh,
They had axes.
that's insane. That's like when you left port that morning at probably like 4 a.m., you're probably like, okay, today's going to be a normal day out on the high seas. And then you literally got boarded by pirates.
But they weren't really doing anything that crazy. The argument here is that the Philippines have a grounded ship. I think it might be like a World War II boat. And they're using it as kind of like a little radar base and stuff. And they were just resupplying it. And China's like, no, you will not do that. We control this. Is that
My
you?
stomach, yeah. I ate before I came here, and I'm still hungry.
You might be eating the wrong foods.
I
Maybe
could
you're
be.
not chewing enough.
Maybe.
I don't chew enough. I know that about myself. But like, the problem is I'm always doing something else while I'm eating.
Yeah, same.
Well, this guy, when he was eating his Pringles, he might not have been doing something else, but he was thinking about something
Oh, I
else.
remember this story.
Because he didn't buy the Pringles for their flavor.
Our follow-up is the Ohio attorney that had been suspended over throwing his poop-filled Pringles can. Good news! He has his license reinstated. Done the anger management thing, and he's...
How is that not like the first thing that you put on your profile on your law website?
A lot of times when you have a ruling against you in a criminal case, I don't know if this was criminal or not, but they'll do things like you're not allowed to use your computer. You're not allowed to go to a Walmart. You're not allowed to buy X. He should be banned from Pringles for the rest of his life.
I'm trying to think of how you could like make this into some sort of slogan for like his website. Once you pop, you don't stop. How does he change his law firm to capitalize on this?
Once I pooped, but now I stopped. That doesn't rhyme.
No.
I pooped, but I'm back in the loop. That's still, he's a public defender, so it doesn't matter. Like, he gets assigned to cases. He doesn't have to advertise.
If someone cleverer than us think of a joke slogan for that.
Some of the comments for that stuff are so amazing.
Krista, I want to take your temperature on this because I know two things about you. One thing is that you have an irrational fear of someone attacking your feet in parking lots.
Yeah,
The other thing is you used to work at a grocery store.
I did.
So you're really going to be in the middle here.
Mom defends her decision not to return the shopping cart despite backlash.
No,
which was
killer.
a social media meme this week.
Now, here's her argument, Krista. She says, when you put the kids in the car and buckle them in, and then you go to take the empty cart back to the thing, both the kids and you are super vulnerable during that trip. And she's too terrified.
Straight to jail.
I would say the same thing.
You gotta model courage for your children, and taking 2 seconds to walk away from your kids to put your thing in a kiosk takes no effort.
Or demand that your kids follow you.
Yeah, a lot of people were like, I got 5 kids, and they all walk with me to the corral. And you know what? You're teaching your kids to be responsible.
Yeah.
Or you send one of your kids to take it back as you keep an eye on them watchfully.
Yeah, seriously.
Or you send all of your kids to take it back while you browse your phone.
There's really lots of ways to win here, and she picked the only one where you don't.
But she doubled down. A lot of people criticized her, and she said no. And a lot of people agreed with her, too.
There's the old 4chan green text that was like, the only thing that matters about whether you live in a just society is whether or not you take your groceries thing back to the corral.
I was there the other day, and I saw that poor cart wrangler in that 95-degree, 50%
a long time
humidity
ago.
heat, and he was chasing down stuff like at the end of the row, and I was like, oh.
At least they have machines now. When I did it,
This guy didn't. He just had like a
Really?
rope, like a lash that he connected to one and then drug it behind him.
Wow. No, we always just had to push.
And we have, I don't understand this because how many different kinds of foodstuffs are we making milk out of these days?
Yeah, do we need more? I guess almonds require a lot of water, so maybe they're thinking that. But you could also do oat milk.
Oat, soy,
Yeah.
there's so many, but we need more.
Biotech companies are trying to make milk without the cows.
I mean, it's good news for Wendell.
Yeah. I think that I was always really excited to read these stories because I keep hoping that the answer is going to be sent a cow, where it's like instead
never
of
the answer.
chemically making the milk, I'm not actually okay with chemically making the milk because all these adulterated foods that we eat, I think, are killing us slowly. But I would be totally okay if we genetically engineer some sort of non-sentient, non-pain-feeling apparatus that produces, cow milk artificially that's not actually a cow. Like, that would be fine. Like, think Lovecraftian horror hooked up to a machine.
Yeah, you're basically describing the Matrix for cows.
Yeah. Well, but they don't need the brain tissue or anything else. We just need the organs that produce milk and the control system to do that.
That feels wrong to me.
I feel uncomfortable about that.
I would concede that there is a crime against nature happening there somewhere.
I mean, not that dairy farming now is much better, but
What if we just let the cows wander around outside like they were meant to, and we keep the number of people low enough that we don't need to do that?
That sounds like a reasonable solution. It's wild. Maybe the Amish people would want to get involved here. It's like they're already, they probably treat the cow with respect and love. Indian people.
Well, one place that you can still get a glass of actual animal whole milk from a cow is at Waffle House.
Oh, I love
and
it.
your waiter or waitress might be in a little bit better mood from now on as well.
Waffle House servers are getting a raise, plus $3 an hour.
No,
No,
not,
$2,
not
$3.
plus. That's the number. Because it's plus tips.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it's confusingly worded in the article because it talks about the $7.25. Like, they still have to pay the minimum wage of $7.25.
if they don't make
If
it.
you don't get tips.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in an hour, surely at least 2 people are throwing you like $3 or $4, right?
Yeah.
I would think. But some people are really bad about that kind of thing.
That's wild. I mean, I don't agree with how the whole thing is set up, but the knowledge that they're getting $3 an hour,
Yeah.
like I feel compelled to give them something. At least to bump them up to that 7 something.
Before you go, check this out. There are more ads to show you.
I loved reading this article as the world is melting outside my home and thinking, how many people are going to leave the house and their shirt's just going to fall off?
Oh.
Where then recycle, designers make dissolvable textiles from gelatin. When it gets wet, it's not a fabric anymore.
How fast would Rue eat all of your clothing?
So quick. Actually, I just replaced my glasses that she chewed on when she was a puppy. They have like a big dent on the side, which
Oh,
I
you
don't know
should
if you
keep
guys had ever
those.
noticed.
Did
Yeah,
you-
oh yeah, I kept them.
Yeah. That's good
I mean, they'll
going.
be backup glasses.
Put them in the Rue Museum. The Museum.
The Rusium. Did you remember? You guys probably didn't wear them, but you might remember them, like the jelly sandals.
I remember those.
Yeah, I had a pair of those, and so did my aunt growing up, and she said that hers melted to the blacktop when it was summertime.
But those weren't anything special. Those were just like the
They're
worst
just
kind
literally
of
like plastic, yeah. And she just said they just melted, just like the gelatin clothes will.
Well, this little guy will melt your heart because he's got an adorable little backpack. Oh, you
No.
think he's ultralight?
Probably not.
Many backpacks track movement of rare beetle.
Actually, if it's under 10 pounds, then technically yes.
It's just a
I think it
tiny
is,
little
yeah.
RF transmitter, and there's a receiver in the area that's like, "Hey, there's the beetle. There he is."
There he goes.
The most interesting thing they've found is that these beetles apparently have sort of like a home area, and when they start to get toward the edges, they know, and they turn back.
I think box turtles are kind of that way too, like the eastern box turtle.
We should put some backpacks on and find out. I'm for all animals having backpacks.
So it's important.
I've still not seen any cicadas.
Not in our area, no.
Are we going to get hit by the cicada / heat dome at the same time?
I had at least one cicada
Really?
because I was doing yard work and I freaked out. And I took my pants off while I was doing yard work because something crawled up my leg.
What I love about that is, like, of the three of us, you're the one who lives more in town. So, like, I'm imagining your neighbor peeking out their window and you're just like...
I was freaking out. It was
Did
bad.
you found it though?
Yeah, it was a cicada.
Did you inspect it for fungus?
I did. Yeah, I was just like, "What is this? Is this gonna be like?" I was
A
freaking
new
out.
disease.
Yeah.
So it was clean then?
Yeah, it seemed fine. It turns out, but there are zombie cicadas on speed that are spreading a super fungus, and this we don't know. There's a fungus that takes over their higher brain function, and they go infecting other cicadas, and it's
A fungus
bad.
among us.
This fungus is one of those kind of like the cordyceps, which takes over their mind, but actually generates amphetamines. So they are speed-driven
These are meth heads.
monsters. Yeah, and like regular meth heads, they're just having a lot of kids. Actually, I don't think they're capable of reproduction, but the act of trying to spreads the fungus.
Oh.
And this guy and his kid they just run around collecting them. They love it.
That's not fabulous.
That's
But also, how does that fungus evolve that way? That's just wild.
Oh, the whole idea of the funguses that control your brain and make you do really specific stuff, that makes me think that there's a lot out there we don't understand. Right?
That was the premise of The Last of Us, right? Was that there was some sort of fungus that adapted to humans that
I
way.
think so, yeah. I've never tried those games, but I mean, it's an obvious storyline, right? Because in nature, it's already there.
I really think we ought to write the developers of Stellaris and have them patch Stellaris so when you're elevating the species, you're doing it through this. It's like, oh yeah, we introduced a whole new fungus genus that's rewriting the. So it turns out if we change this one little thing in their ecosystem, it's going to drive. Like we added psychedelics to their ecosystem, so now when they eat the mushrooms, they're going to think about things on a higher plane of existence, and then from that they'll have writing and society, and it's like interesting.
But then the DEA will shoot their dogs. But hopefully they won't shoot this little guy, even though he does seem to be a bit of a problem and seems to be willing to traverse long distances to continue his reign of terror.
Bear shreds seats and then dozes off after breaking into a Canadian woman's car. Her car was not locked. He used his snout to open the door and then was like, these seats aren't soft enough. Let me just use my claws to fluff them up.
And then he said, it's just right.
And then the picture of the destroyed car interior is amazing.
A lot of times they tell you not to put your food in your car, even when you're just car camping. They'll have a bear box at a campsite.
Which bed was just right? Was it Mama Bear's bed?
I thought it was Baby Bear's.
I can't remember.
I think it was Baby Bear's. Somebody has a good knowledge of children's rhymes.
But I thought about this, right? The major operating system paradigm is like Goldilocks.
Oh, yeah.
Mac OS is too soft. Linux is too hard. Windows is just right. But in this analogy, every time Goldilocks lays down in that bed, it touches her inappropriately. That's our last.
That was it. That was it. All right, chat. We will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.